Random House Audio presents The Andalucian Friend by Alexander Soderberg. Read for you by Gildart Jackson. Prologue. She kept looking between the rear-view mirror and the road ahead. She couldn't see the motorcycle, not just then. It had been there a moment before, looming up behind her. Then it disappeared. She pulled into the inside lane of the highway, trying to seek cover from the cars behind her. He kept looking back, trying to direct her driving from the passenger seat. She couldn't hear his words, just the panic in his voice. The outline of the motorbike appeared in the shaky rear-view mirror, disappeared for a few moments, then reappeared. It kept going like that as it cruised between the cars behind them. She pulled out into the left-hand lane, which lay open ahead of her, and put her foot down, and the car vibrated with the rapid revolution of the engine as she put the car into fifth gear, the highest. She felt sick. There was a draft around her feet. The bullets must have hit somewhere down there. The holes made a whining noise that merged with the sound of the straining engine, a terrible noise that cut into her consciousness. She couldn't remember how far she had driven before the shots came, sudden and unreal. She had time to see that the man riding the motorbike was wearing a blue helmet with a dark visor, that the gunman behind him had a black helmet with no visor. She had seen his eyes for a moment. She had seen the emptiness in them. They had been shot at from the left. The sound came out from nowhere, rattling in quick succession. The clatter inside the car sounded like someone was hitting the bodywork with a heavy chain. At the same time, she heard a yell, but she couldn't tell if it had come from her or the man beside her. She glanced quickly at him. He was different now. His nerves and fear were shining through, showing themselves as anger. That much was clear from his face, furrowed brow, staring eyes, every now and then a twitch in one of them. He pressed one of the speed dial numbers on his cell phone again. He had done this once already since the shots were fired. He waited, staring intently ahead of him. No answer this time either. He hung up. The motorbike was heading toward them at high speed. He yelled at her to drive faster. She realized that speed wasn't going to save them, and neither would his yelling. She felt the metallic taste of fear in her mouth as a white noise buzzed feverishly in her head. Her panic had crossed a boundary. She was no longer trembling. She just felt a terrible weight in her arms, as if driving the car was somehow heavy. And like an invincible enemy, the motorbike was suddenly alongside them. She glanced to the left and saw the snub-nosed weapon in the gunman's hand again as he raised it toward her. She ducked instinctively as the gun spewed out bullets. Hard, cracking sounds echoed as the shots hit the bodywork, the crash as the side window shattered, throwing a cascade of glass over her. She was slumped down with her head to one side, foot hard on the accelerator. The car was driving itself. She had no idea what was happening ahead of them. She had time to notice that the glove compartment by his knees was open, that there were several magazines in there, that he was holding a pistol in his hand. Then a loud bang, metal against metal. A loud scraping sound from the right as the car slid into the barrier along the side of the highway. There was a shrieking, scraping sound, the car was juddering, and there was a smell of burning. She sat up, turned the wheel and straightened the car and pulled out into traffic again. A quick look over her shoulder. The motorbike was off to the side behind her. He swore loudly and leaned across her, firing the gun through her window, 3 shots in quick succession. The explosions from the gun echoed improbably inside the car. The motorbike braked and disappeared. "How much farther?" she asked. He looked at her as if he didn't understand the question. Then he must have heard it as an echo in his head. "I don't know." The accelerator pedal was still on the floor. The needle of the speedometer was quivering as the car lurched around curves in the road. Another quick glance in the rearview mirror. "Here it comes again," she said. He tried to open his own window, but the collision with the barrier had buckled the door, and the window was stuck. He leaned back toward her, took aim with his right foot, and kicked at the window. Most of the glass fell out. He cleared the rest with the barrel of the gun, then leaned out and shot at the motorbike, which pulled back once more. She realized how hopeless their situation was. The motorbike was in control. Then everything fell silent, as if someone had switched off all sound. They sailed along the highway, staring ahead as if they were both trying to reconcile themselves to their approaching death, faces pale, incapable of comprehending what was happening to their lives at this precise moment. He looked tired, his head was hanging, his eyes sad. "Say something!" She uttered the command in a loud voice, both hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, speed unchanged. At first he didn't answer. He seemed to be thinking. Then he turned toward her. "Sorry, Sophie." Part 1. Stockholm, 6 weeks earlier, May. Chapter 1. There was something about her that made some people say she didn't look like a nurse, and she could never figure out if this was a compliment or an insult. She had long, dark hair and a pair of green eyes that sometimes gave the impression that she was about to burst out laughing. She wasn't. That was just the way she looked, as if she had been born with a smile in her eyes. She went down the stairs, which creaked beneath her feet. The house, a fairly small yellow wooden villa built in 1911, with leaded windows, shiny old parquet floors, and a garden that could have been bigger, was her place on this earth. She realized that the first time she saw it. The kitchen window was open to the still spring evening. The smell coming through the window was more summer than spring. Summer wasn't supposed to arrive for several weeks, but the heat had come early and not wanted to leave. Now it was just hanging there, heavy and completely still. She was grateful for it, needed it, enjoyed being able to have her windows and doors open, being able to move freely between outside and in. There was the sound of a moped in the distance, a thrush was singing in a tree, other birds too, but she didn't know their names. Sophie got out the china and set the table for two, with the best plates, nicest cutlery, and the finest glasses, avoiding the workaday as best she could. She knew she would be eating alone, seeing as Albert ate when he was hungry, which seldom coincided with her timing. She heard his steps on the stairs, sneakers on old oak wood, a bit too heavy, a bit too hard. Albert wasn't bothered by the noise he was making. She smiled at him as he came into the kitchen. He smiled back, boyishly, yanked open the fridge door, and stood there for far too long, staring at the contents. "Shut the fridge, Albert." He stood where he was. She ate for a while, idly leafing through a newspaper. Then she looked up, said the same thing again, this time with a hint of irritation in her voice. "I can't move," he whispered theatrically. She laughed, not so much at his dry sense of humor, but more because he was just funny, which made her happy, proud even. "How was your day?" she asked. She could see he was close to laughter. She recognized the signs. He always thought his own jokes were funny. Albert took a bottle of mineral water from the fridge, slammed the door, and jumped up onto the kitchen counter. The carbon dioxide hissed as he unscrewed the top. "Everyone's mad," he said, taking a sip. Albert started to tell her about his day in small fragments as they occurred to him. She listened and smiled as he made fun of the teachers and other people. She could see he enjoyed being amusing. Then, suddenly, he was done. Sophie could never figure out when this was going to happen. He would just stop, as if he had gotten fed up with himself and his sense of humor. And she felt like reaching out to him to ask him to stay, carry on being funny, carry on being human, friendly, and mean at the same time. But that wasn't how it worked. She'd tried before, and it had gone wrong, so she let him go. He disappeared into the hall. A short silence. Maybe he was changing his shoes. "You owe me 1,000 kroner, he said. "What for?" "The cleaning lady came today." "Don't say cleaning lady." She heard the zip of his jacket. "So what should I say?" She didn't know. He was on his way out through the door. "Kiss, kiss, Mom," he said, his tone suddenly gentle. The door closed, and she could hear his steps on the gravel path outside the open window. "Give me a ring if you're going to be late," she called. Sophie went on as normal. She cleared the table, tidied up, watched some television, called a friend, and talked about nothing, and the evening passed. She went up to bed and tried to read some of the book on her bedside table about a woman.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?